So you're thinking about moving to Olympia, Washington? In this video, we're going to go over 5 reasons why Olympia, Washington is a great place for you to move. Stick around. For checking out our video, and if you're considering moving to Olympia, Washington, we're going to be covering 5 reasons why you should absolutely consider doing that. Olympia is a great place. I've lived here most of my life, been here for 35 years or more, been a Washingtonian pretty much my whole life. Olympia is a great place, but like any city, it's got some negatives and positives about it, and in this video we're going to be covering the top 5 positives that I could come up with anyway. Before we get started, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button down below, and while you're at it, hit that bell and you'll get notifications every time we put up a new video. We're trying to put up new videos every week about moving to Olympia, just living in Olympia, lifestyle, restaurants, food, activities, things like that. So we want to just inform you as much as we can on everything about Olympia, Washington. So without further ado, I have my trusty little envelope here. I went through quite a bit of thought in this. As I said, I've been here for quite a long time, been in the real estate industry for about 30 years, so I feel like I'm qualified to talk about Olympia. So number one reason to move to Olympia is the outdoor recreation. It's such a great location. So if you're familiar with how Washington is laid out, there's the Puget Sound, and Olympia is located right at the southern end of Puget Sound. There's hiking, there's just camping, there's boating, there's so much outdoors things to do. And the great thing geographically with it is you travel about an hour to the west and you've got the ocean beaches. You travel, an hour to the north and you've got Seattle. You go up the other side of the peninsula and you've got the Olympic National Park, which is one of the most beautiful sceneries I've ever seen in my life. The Hoh rainforest is up there, one of the wettest places in the country. Just absolutely beautiful. So Olympic National Park. You've got Mount Rainier to the east. You always tell where east is in Olympia because you look towards directly east and you see Mount Rainier. So that's always my built-in compass. You can always see Mount Rainier. There's a little bit to the south of that, there's Mount St. Helens. You've probably heard, May 18th, 1980, Mount St. Helens erupted. I remember when I was a kid, I was living in eastern Washington when Mount St. Helens erupted, and we actually got ash in eastern Washington, so that always kind of holds a unique spot in my heart. Crystal Mountain, if you're into skiing, Crystal Mountain is up, again, hour and a half up in the Cascade Mountains, a great ski resort. I mentioned Puget Sound. Basically, the Cascade Range runs right down the middle between what we call Eastern Washington and Western Washington. 2 very diverse climates, by the way. Western Washington is, you get 2 seasons. It's either rainy or sunny. Eastern Washington, you actually have 4 seasons. It snows more there. It doesn't snow a lot here in Western Washington. So Eastern Washington is a couple hours away. Great stuff to do over there as well. I can't talk about Washington without mentioning Leavenworth, one of my favorite places to go. It's in the Cascade Mountains, and it's a little Bavarian town. Great place to go in the wintertime. Great food, great atmosphere. Everything is just decked out in Christmas and Bavarian themes. Really a neat town. So if you check that out, you just look it up on the internet. And also Lake Chelan. I grew up in Lake Chelan, Eastern Washington. Lake Chelan is right in the center of the state. It's about 3.5-4 hours away from Olympia. But if you're looking for just a beautiful resort area, Lake Chelan is a 55-mile long lake. It's one of the deepest lakes in the country. And Chelan is right at the very tip of the city of Chelan, is right at the very tip of Lake Chelan. And the roads only go, it's a fairly narrow lake, and it kind of snakes up 55 miles. It's anywhere from a half a mile to maybe a mile in width at the widest part. But as you go up lake, the roads only go up 25 miles. So the remaining bit of the lake there is just forested area. And at the very other end of the lake is a little town called Stehekin that you can only access by boat or trail or horseback. Neat little town. If you're ever looking for a place to just get away and unplug, there's a boat. It's called the Lady of the Lake. And it runs from Chelan all the way up to Stehekin once a day. And I just found out that my uncle was actually he actually worked on building the original Lady of the Lake way back when. He was actually, so I thought that was kind of a cool story. So number one, just outdoor recreation, the geographic location to so many different things is one of the great things about living in Olympia. The next thing is summer. The summers here are just absolutely beautiful. Now the last video I did, 5 reasons why you might want to not move to Olympia. This one is why you would want to move. And funny enough, one of the reasons is the weather. In the last video, because it does rain a lot here during the winter times, during the springtime. We do get a lot of rain, about 53 inches a year, if I recall. But the summer times, the great thing about the area here is that the summer times are just so, everything is so green and so lush, as you can see behind me. In fact, I get a little peekaboo view there. I'll give you another shot of it, but that's the old Olympia brew house there in Tumwater, Washington. It was built in early 1900s, 1908. Was only around for, or in use for a couple of years because Prohibition kicked in, and then it ended up shutting down. But just another really cool landmark there. So lots of neat stuff around here. But in the summer times, we got 25 days of summer, 25 days of sunshine on average in July. Average temperature 77 degrees. The air quality is great. There's not a lot of pollution here. It's not real humid. It's not real dry. It's just a very temperate climate. So, you know, the weather, depending on how you look at it, can be a kind of a negative and a kind of a bummer in the wintertime, but the summer times are just amazing here. There's a reason they call it the Evergreen State. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 is fishing. If you're into fishing, salmon, yeah, the Northwest, we're known for our salmon. So salmon fishing in Puget Sound. There's also a lot of rivers. There's tons of rivers around here. If you're into river fishing, you can try your hand at steelhead fishing. I'm definitely not going to be able to help you with that because I certainly haven't mastered that. But there are guides that can we can put you in touch with some guides that can put you on some steelhead fishing trips. There's crabbing. You can put crab pots down in Puget Sound. You have to get your shellfish license. And one of my favorites is clam digging. If you've never heard of the razor clam, hope I'm not getting too much wind here. Try and block it a little bit. If you've ever heard of razor clams, the Pacific Northwest razor clam. About I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times a year they open up the razor clam season on the coast, and that's again about an hour and a half away. And I'm going to do a video on how to do razor clams and how to clean razor clams, and most importantly how to cook razor clams, because you can really screw it up. My mom taught me how to cook razor clams, and they are phenomenal. They're about this big, and they're called razor clams. You want to wear gloves when you pull them out because they do have some sharp edges on them. But they are just fantastic to eat. So salmon fishing, steelhead fishing, crabbing, razor clam. That's my number 3. Number 4 kind of falls in the same line. It's eating all of that stuff. It's the restaurants. So we've got some great seafood restaurants right around here in Olympia. A couple that come to mind. Ricardo's is a great steak restaurant. Gardner's downtown is just a phenomenal restaurant. Those are probably 2 of my favorite higher end restaurants. So Ricardo's and Gardner's downtown. But we're getting a lot of food trucks around Olympia too, which is kind of cool. It's to kind of have that diversity. There's some great Asian restaurants. I love Thai food. There's a couple of barbecue restaurants here that have been featured on Food Network and actually won some national awards. You should definitely check out, and there's no shortage of Mexican food in the area as well. So just lots of great restaurants. That's number 4. So number 5 is just the transportation in general. Livability.com has Olympia rated as the number 31 out of 131 best places to live in the United States, and that was in 2021. They've got great public transportation, really reliable public transportation. The traffic here is really reasonable. You're not going to find yourself getting held up in a lot of traffic jams and things like that. It's a very bike-friendly area. So you see a lot of people biking. There's a lot of bike lanes. A lot of people use bikes as their main form of transportation here to and from work. There's so short commutes to everything. There's really everything that you need is really very, very close by in Olympia. One thing that Olympia is crazy about roundabouts. So they're taking out a lot of the stop signs and a lot of the stop lights, and they're putting in the roundabouts. Made famous in Europe, Germany, but the roundabouts, they started here about, I don't know, gosh, probably 15, 20 years ago. One popped up and then 2, and now they're freaking everywhere. And it's kind of funny when you see somebody drive into a roundabout and you know they've never done it before. Because if you ever watched that movie, European Vacation, National Lampoon's European Vacation. If you've ever seen that, you remember the scene where they get it caught in the roundabout and they just keep going in circles, and Chevy Chase keeps saying, "Look, kids, Big Ben. Look, kids, big." That's kind of what it's like. So we have those roundabouts here, so you don't want to get stuck in those. Although once you figure it out, they're very easy to use, and they've kind of grown on me a little bit. They actually do keep traffic moving, so that's kind of cool. So there's your traffic. That's number 5. Not traffic, but just transportation in general. And I can't leave off. I call this an honorable mention. Olympia is known for its beer. Olympia Brewery, right behind me, started right here, right behind me, in the early 1900s by Leopold Schmidt. And the Olympia Brewery started here because that was their tagline. It's the water. We have the artesian wells here. Olympia has a really, really great brewing tradition, although they haven't brewed Olympia beer in Olympia for, 15, 20 years probably. It still has a great brewing tradition. So there's a lot of little micro brews and little tap houses and things that are popping up. And Olympia is really starting to come back with the brewing tradition. So there's a lot of great micro brews here. And Washington, on the other side of it, Washington is really becoming known for its wine. I grew up, as I said, in Eastern Washington, and it used to be the state fruit was the apple. Everything in Eastern Washington was apples, and now all those apple orchards are gone, and they're turned into wineries right now. So if you're into wine, Washington is really, really making a great push, and we really, really have some great wineries. So there's my top 5 plus a bonus reason why living in Olympia is great. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave me a comment below if there's something you'd like me to cover about Olympia, if there's questions that you've got. Also, contact us up. All my information is in the description below. And while you're there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you're notified when we have new videos coming up. This is Scott with eXp Realty and OlympiaHomesource.com. And there's the wind. It's probably messing up my microphone. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.